Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Today we've got two special guests coming on the show. We've got Karen, who I'm sure all of you remember from our last WingRiders interview, and we've got Liam, the CMO, coming on today to talk to us about WingRiders. So thanks a lot for coming on, guys.
Nice to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks very much for having us, man. Really appreciate it, and nice to meet you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise. I mean, the pleasure is all mine. The last interview that I did with Karen, we really got into WingRiders as a DEX. We expressed our interest in WingRiders, just given how successful things had been to date and all the new features they actually brought, really approaching the DEX space on Cardano from a different angle. So if we can start things off really with an update of what you guys have potentially been up to since we last spoke, and then we're going to get into some really exciting things like your current IDO launch, and then talk about the WRT token moving forwards.
Excellent. Yeah.
Awesome.
Do you want to kick off, Liam?
No, please, Karan.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Age before beauty, mate.
Yeah, we've got this banter always going on, me and him. Yeah, so excellent. So where we left it last. Okay, so we are gradually moving more and more towards a decentralized DEX. Okay, so more and more towards the decentralized autonomous organization. And the biggest development we've had over the last 10 days, 2 weeks is actually stake pool voting. This is really quite an exciting feature on the DEX, whereby essentially anyone who's got ADA and another asset into one of those pools, whereas before it used to just get auto staked into one of the predefined pools, now they can actually vote on which pool they'd like to have the ADA staked in. Obviously not as individuals, but there has to be a collective vote, and the majority that vote for that pool, that ADA from that particular pool gets put into that. Now that's a big thing, obviously, because as you go along, you don't just set off to create a decentralized autonomous organization. You do it in gradual steps, and this has been probably one of the most exciting kind of areas. We've also kind of highlighted the fact that you can do, obviously, limit market orders and what we call flexible limit orders. Sometimes, we found that, some users weren't aware that actually a DEX is not that far away from a CEX or a centralized exchange, essentially, where you can have these advanced orders placed, and that's probably been another fairly big development. We're constantly obviously coming up with features, and I'm sure Liam will add a few more that I've probably not highlighted as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Karan nailed it, but yeah, the decentralization piece has been really important to us from day one, right? I joined slightly before Karan, just as the project was coming out of stealth. I've been in the crypto space for a while. I've actually worked on a token sale for a DEX on Ethereum years ago. So I'm across the market on a few different blockchains. For me, decentralization is like a hype word, right? Like it's now, when you look at the bad projects, like the rug pulls, the scams, the poorly executed projects, there's certain points you hit, right? Like NFTs, play to earn were really hot last year, right before the end of the bull market. Then you've got, then decentralization is a big one, right? Like Web3, take your power back. But, then you see Jack Dorsey talking about Web5, because Web3 is essentially a bunch of dudes already own those tokens, right? So if you look at where we're going, right, from day one in our roadmap, we always had the intention that our project would be live before we distributed a token. And the reason for that is at the other end of the spectrum, is someone comes to you with a white paper and a great idea, and they sell you on the hype, right? We wanted people to see the platform. We've always talked about decentralizing the batches, right? The agents, we call them. So actually putting the batching the transactions together. Our aim, it was originally sort of Q2, Q3, because we pushed our token sale a little bit. We got a few delays. It'll probably be Q3, Q4, but ultimately that's going to be done. It's in our roadmap, and our dev team are working on it. To get from there to here, there's a few steps. So the stake pool voting is one of them, and there was a smart contract upgrade that had to happen for that to be useful, to be functional. So we've done that. Now there's a couple of other steps in the way, but really, we want to really allow the platform to be controlled by the community, because we think longer term, this is really what we're talking about when we talk about decentralization and we talk about giving power back, right? Privacy is always important to us. Obviously, it's the same with all the DEXs, but for us, this transition to being decentralized, it's funny, when we talked about stake pool voting and we did tweets, the first couple of tweets were like, everyone was really cynical. They were like, why don't you just give it to all the big stake pools and whales who always get to do it, right? That's because it's so ingrained in the space that there's always like someone who's going to benefit. Right? They're always going to benefit because they've been in crypto longer and they have more assets. We're trying to push back against that, right? And we're not the only project, but for us, that's really a crucial step, right? If you are just working on the platform, you've got a couple of thousand ADA, you're not like a big whale, but there's no reason why you can't be an agent. There's no reason why you can't be involved in earn, right?
Yeah, no, it's one thing that I'd expressed my admiration for the WingRiders team thus far on our last interview that we did, because decentralization is a fundamental principle to blockchain, or at least it should be, I think. And again, with you guys sort of doing the stealth launch in the manner that you did, not bringing the token out before people had really got to experience the DEX, really admirable things, I think, and very in keeping with the whole kind of concepts of blockchain. And when you talk about buzzwords, DeFi is a buzzword. People really latch onto that and will very much sell their products based on the buzzword rather than the actual product itself. So you'd mentioned your token there. Now, last time we spoke, Karen was kind of teasing us that we couldn't quite release the information in regards to how people could have got their hands on the token. We know that you can get it through providing liquidity on WingRiders, but there's now been progress in regards to a sale, essentially. So I was wondering if you could maybe dive into that a little bit.
Sure, I can kick off that. Essentially, before this, obviously, as you said, so through farming, you could obviously farm and get WRT tokens as rewards. As an IOU, realistically, when the TG goes ahead, obviously, you get those tokens, etc. But sort of progressing on from that, the other ways that you could have got them up to this point were the whitelist that we had. This was again coming back to the decentralization aspects we were talking about of the DEX. We went out to the community and we really asked, how would you like the token distribution to happen? And we got a lot of suggestions. We got lots of kind of avenues of how we could do that, various types of IDO platforms that were suggested, and also an ICO, which we weren't actually thinking about from the beginning, or a whitelist, essentially exclusively to open to all, but mostly the community, obviously. And everyone who wasn't part of the community would come into the community and join this. So we had a very kind of big debate about this, and we came to the conclusion, fine, we'll go ahead and do that. We just completed that. So that was the second avenue, if you like, that you can do it. And obviously the IDOs that we have ahead of us. I'll stop there and I'll let, because me and Liam, by the way, I have to tell you something, yeah? We have this wonderful relationship where we have to stop each other from talking, otherwise.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give Liam a chance as well there.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? So in a way, you're kind of damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. In the crypto space, there's always like someone who complains. So we wanted to come out with the platform first, and now there's a couple of guys in our community are like, why haven't I got my token, right? So if we'd gone the other way and we put the token out first, some people would be like, the platform shit. So it's funny, right? For us in the early stages, like back in November, December, as we were talking about coming out of stealth, we had a very clear vision of what we wanted to do, right? We're just going to go out, IDO, hit Cardstarter, a couple other IDO projects, and just do that. And then literally, there's always that first mover advantage people talk about, but there's also the problems of being first mover. So we saw what happened with Sunday Swap, right? And we feel really bad about those guys. Cardstarter raised a bunch of money. Then Sunday didn't get the money. I don't know the whole story, so I'm probably going to stuff it up. But that's kind of my understanding. Then turned out the contract wasn't clear. So we were just like, whoa, because we were just going to do pretty much exactly what they did, right? And then we were like, oh, so, we talk about decentralization. Even before our token's out, we started doing pre-DAO voting on our Discord. And at that stage, our community was like 5,000. So we had a few, like, what sort of pools would you be interested in seeing? What things do you want to add? What features and functions? And we got like reasonable kind of responses to those. But then we said, we'd really like the community's input on what's happening. Like what IDO platforms would you recommend? Would you prefer a direct sale versus IDO? What was it? And so it was our most voted on poll, like more than 56% of our community at that point in time voted in the poll. And they gave us a list of 5 IDO platforms that had like their own little groups of fans or users. And then a reasonable percentage of the community was like a direct sale. And then there was a pretty good sort of minority opinion, but groundswell was like reward those people who have been supporting you from the beginning. So we've tried to do all that, right? So those 5 platforms that were recommended to us, one was Cardstarter, then Vent Finance, then Occam Razor, DAO Maker, and then I always forget the 5th one. So those were the 5. Then getting the community, rewarding the early community and the people who've been supporting us from the start. So that was a whitelist. So we did a whitelist sale, and it was really challenging because, you know, crypto regulation has changed a lot, even in the last 6 months, right? So we were just talking about it before the interview. The US, right? Australia has been discussing it. They talked about it in the budget in sort of January, February. France has put out new regulation. That's why Binance got regulated. So we just looked at it, and it was actually really challenging. A lot of our community, we couldn't sell directly to them because we were unclear on what the rules were around selling on token sales. So we did the best we could on the whitelist. We had about 2,000 people go through the process. I think about 1,000 have completed KYC and paid. That's roughly where we are, which is pretty good. Then we have Vent. They've just done their registration piece. They're about 1,000 on the first part, and then they're doing there's like a GPS sale as well. So that's kind of happening as well. So that's doing pretty well. Then Occam is kicking off, and then our 3rd IDO platform, the contract is signed. We're just waiting for like last little conditions before we can announce the name, but it's a big platform, right? So once that's out, that will be the IDO platform sale, and then potentially, if there's any allocation left, we might looking at doing a direct sale. At this stage, to me, it doesn't look like there will be an allocation left, but that's kind of where we are, right? So we really want, excuse me, we really wanted one of our IDO platforms to do some sort of leverage where they did a general sale, so you didn't have to hold all their tokens. So one of them is doing that. So we've hit all the bases we could possibly hit. So
yeah. On that
our
note,
original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go.
Yeah, exactly. You got it now. So essentially, yeah. So I'll just like elaborate on a little bit of the mechanics. So on the Vent one, you've got 2 cells essentially. You've got a kind of holder cell, so the Vent token holder cell, if you like, and which is got a $300,000 allocation, and then you got a public cell where you don't have to be a Vent holder. So that the first cell, which is that they call it the IDO essentially, which is their, if you like, community member cell, vent holder cell. That begins on the 24th of this month, June, and the public cell goes live on the 27th. But please be clear that you need to do the KYC if you're not a Vent already holder, etc. Or if you want to be a Vent holder, you have to do the KYC. So get in there quickly. So I believe, if I'm not wrong, on Sunday the whitelist, the KYC and sort of it closes. That's the deadline for it. For Occam, it's slightly different. It's on the 28th, the main sale. You have to hold OCC tokens essentially, and again, it has a process of KYCing. So please get in there early, and make sure that you've done all those initial steps before you can actually participate in the sale. So that's it.
Yeah, and we the last thing. So because we knew some people probably aren't across all these platforms, Karan actually he did the work, so I'll give him the credit. We've put out a how-to guide for Vent and a how-to guide for Occam. They're on the WingRiders Medium, so the guys can jump over, and it's literally step by step, so you can just bang down. And how to register your KYC, how to get set up, how to connect your wallet, all that sort of stuff. So get over there, read it, and understand, and then jump in where it's convenient for you guys.
And also the IDO platforms both have full information, because with the Occam cell, it's a tiered kind of, if you like, staking type of cell, where if you got the higher allocation, which I believe is 10,000 OCC, you kind of get a guaranteed spot, and then the lower tiers, which starts from 150 only OCC, they're not that expensive. I think 1 USDC buys 3 OCC. So so there is a tiered system as well. So please go and check that out. They are live on their actual websites as well. All the information, again, is on our website, and you can go and check it out there.
Yeah, I was actually having a little read through the Medium posts before we did this. It's very much step by step, like you said, and it's easy to take part in. And you guys can take part in right now. I'm going to leave links to the Mediums and all that sort of related information in the description. So talking about the token and how you can get your hands on it, Maybe we should actually talk about the token itself, get into the WingRiders token, and what kind of comes with that.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's all right. You go first. You go first.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So yeah, I mean, there's 100 million of them. Okay, let's start off from there. It's very much deflationary, so that's the max supply. Okay, and we kind of touched on agents and various other things. So what is the WRT token? In essence, it's has two elements to it. It has a governance element to it, and it has a utility element to it as well. Okay, so the governance element obviously ties into the fact that we've been moving slowly towards becoming this decentralized autonomous organization, and the token holders essentially will have governance rights within the organization. Obviously there's conditions and everything we're going to be releasing soon as well, you know, how many tokens you need to have to be able to vote. So essentially for different types of proposals you can vote on a governance platform that we will be developing, and essentially that's the governance element of it. Then there's the other element, which is the utility of WRT. So what's the point of, other than governance, which is absolutely huge, why else would you hold it? It'll have its own farm. Okay, so you get rewards, it'll have a dedicated farm. Also, we mentioned the agents. Eventually the agents or the batches of transactions will become decentralized, and the collateral they need to essentially have in order to become an agent will be WRT. So again, a big chunk of the supply will get locked by the agents in order to become an agent. Okay, then there's other things like, for instance, you'll get privileged or prioritized sort of services, even customer service, various elements like that. Also, you'll get sort of if you like, boosted rewards, for want of a better word, in farms by being a WRT holder. Then there's merch and different other things that you get access to. I don't know if I've missed out anything, Liam, there. You want to elaborate?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you covered everything. I guess I'll just add some context, right? It is worth paying attention to this. There's only a couple of guys in our community who are, I mean, our community is fairly knowledgeable, right? Like there's obviously newbies in there, but there's a lot of guys who are very experienced with Cardano. Compared to some of the other projects that are around, DEX projects and other projects, we've got either 1/20th or 1/50th the total. So either like 2% to 5% the total number of tokens. Karan just talked about how to become an agent as the platform scales. You know, let's say we're at $400 million TVL, which seems pretty achievable once we sort of turn the corner on the bear market. You know, we've got decentralized agents who are doing batching transactions. Then essentially all of those guys are going to have some value locked up, and obviously that value will vary on how many transactions they're processing, what sort of work they're doing, what pools they're working on, all those types of things. But, you know, potentially we could have 25% of the tokens locked up immediately, right? Once the agents get to that point in time, right? Just because we need to collateralize that. We've obviously got to find a way to prevent bad actors in the system, right? We don't want people trying to put through transactions in different order than they come through. So the way that we do that is we collateralize that through smart contracts, right? That's all in WRT. So those tokens are going to be locked up. Then, you know, we've got future airdrops. For our community, our early community who supported us, we gave out an FT or series of FTs, limited edition FTs, not quite non-fungible tokens, but very select groups, bronze, silver, gold. These have some utility on the platform, but we're going to do more and more of this type of stuff, more and more NFTs. We've got other characters who are involved in the whole, the rider, our main character. He's like the leader of a group of guys, but we've got a bunch of other characters around them. There'll be NFTs around that. If you're holding tokens, you'll obviously get preferential treatment for those airdrops and claim drops. Then promotional discounts on project-related merchandise, which we've got like seriously like a massive pipeline. Every like week we like talking about coffee mugs and like, yeah, we'll just add it to the list. So one day we'll begin executing on that stuff. You know, then there's going to be dashboards that can provide you with more comprehensive analytics on, you know, what is the liquidity, how many transactions are happening per pool, how many different liquidity providers are there in a pool. That a lot of that will be available to all users, but if you're a power user and you're holding a lot of WRT, you'll get access to more stuff, right? Which is obviously going to help you with your managing your trading and trading effectively. So that's that part. And then the WRT token itself is going to be farmable. So you can lock up, you know, your MELD and ADA. You're earning liquidity tokens, you're getting paid on that in WRT. Once you get the WRT, you can put them into another farm and farm them again. So it's technically triple yield. So that's quite good. I think that's everything, so I'll leave it there. But yeah, events, platform, statistics, deflationary, impact yields, gain probability, and collateral for agents.
There's a lot there. There's a lot there. And there's reason to hold the WRT token. I know there's a lot of tokens out there that it's kind of like, why are we holding this? But you've just listed a pretty extensive list of reasons. And also, in regards to the token, I can see straight off the bat, a lot of it's going to get locked up. It's inherent to how you guys have sort of designed your protocol, which I think is absolutely brilliant. And you guys have also touched on becoming a DAO. Can you extend on that a little bit? Because this is a really, it's a new concept to blockchain. Can you guys extend on the WRT DAO a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, those diehard kind of crypto fans and maximalists essentially will understand that the whole point of sort of blockchain for a lot of the communities out there is about this kind of decentralization and the lack of involvement of a central authority to manage and mediate and essentially take big cuts of what you're doing in between, like we know who we're talking about, like banks, etc. And this is all towards the ethos of what blockchain can do as far as an organization goes. So you can buy shares obviously in a FTSE 100 company, and you can obviously have some kind of say, but really who makes the decisions? It's a board at the end of the day. A decentralized autonomous organization is completely ripped out that kind of, if you like, centralized hierarchical system right at the top, and it's devolved to the right bottom layer. So you have bottom up management realistically. So by holding, for instance, WRT tokens, you will be able to vote on various types of proposals and improvements to the actual, if you like, DEX or any other kind of organization that adopts a decentralized autonomous organization. You can vote on things like, improving the various parameters and features, fee structures, even getting rid of the DEX if it acts unlawfully. And really, it's a democratized way of governance, if you like, that is truly democratized. It's not just in saying it's democratized. So it's a bottom up, if you like, management system, and the in no derogatory way, obviously, the bottom tier are the members of the DAO who hold the governance token. Now, I think this is a huge kind of element of the whole crypto space. We look at price and we know where we are today, and everyone who really doesn't understand, I believe, kind of this space is looking at just the price of a token. But when you really go into it, and those of us who are really involved in it, you look at each of these assets, or we won't call them assets actually, so to get anyone into trouble. But any of these tokens, these are individual projects. These are individual businesses that are being run. So really, if you really want to get into understanding what these kind of tokens prices going up and down is all about, you've got to look behind the scenes. There are teams behind it. There's technology behind it. There are really great kind of amazing things that are happening behind these tokens that we just look at the price going up and down, and people are scared obviously now because they think, oh yeah, it's the end of crypto. I'm sure you all get 100 calls a day from Auntie Meg and Uncle Sam essentially saying, yeah, is it over now? My grand I put in, but it's not, absolutely not. It's been cyclical. Those of you who've seen, I've seen 2 of the major cycles basically, and I know it's a cyclical behavior. Now today's conditions might be slightly different because of the macro, if you like, economic kind of environment and political environment that we live in, where we're obviously predicting, higher inflation next year, and sort of, output sort of decreases, etc. This may prolong it, but this is a cycle at the end of the day. Look behind the projects, look behind sort of WingRiders, see what's actually happening, what we're developing. Don't look at the price of tokens as a measure of what that project is. There are lots of people, you see 2 of us from WingRiders here, but there's a whole team around, an amazing development team, operations, a marketing team, all striving to make this successful. And I just have to add this last point that, we got a lot of kind of sticker and criticism initially, where, say, oh, you've got VCs on board and you've got these early investors. But look at the conditions we're in today. if a project doesn't seed itself, okay, initially with any business, you have a coffee shop. If you don't have enough capital to start it off, those cups of coffee, and you don't have enough kind of running cash, if you like, those cups of coffee are not going to pay for your survival. So please, have a look at that as well. It's not bringing on big investors or what have you to essentially give them a big chunk of you. No, it's about survival. It's about understanding the markets that we're in, that's cyclical. And we do go through bad times, and then we do go through good times again. So that was kind of the last point I wanted to make, really.
It's absolutely about survival, if I can just jump in there. And we spoke last time about, I got into crypto in 2017, like I think a lot of people did, had heard about Bitcoin prior. And really in 2018, 2019, I was faced with a proposition where the price was no longer very attractive. And then you start to dive into projects, you start to really understand what is going on. And just because the price is down, really across the board, given the kind of market that we're in and the nature of it, that doesn't mean that, these products aren't there's nothing going on with them. There's a lot actually more going on today in many respects than there was 6 months ago or 12 months ago. And this is something that people really, really need to focus on, I think, is what's being built and by who, and go off that accordingly.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, what you said is spot on, realistically, because really, we are, I find it very hard to communicate to people who aren't in crypto, and I have a whole big following, family and friends essentially, who always phone me up in bull markets and say, "Shall I buy now?" I go, "Don't." I go, the best time to buy any project is in a bear market. So wait, if you're going to be a long-term holder and you're just looking at the price, wait for the bear market. But as you said, spot on, every single one of these coins out there, I don't know how many there is now on CoinMarketCap. A lot of them are not really viable, but majority of them, a lot of them also are projects that have people behind them, great things that are going to shape the future of finance and many other industries, maybe logistics and any other industry that you can imagine is going to be shaped by blockchain technology and obviously cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, and geez, that answer was so long, Karan, I forgot what the question was. No, I'm kidding.
You did that to me yesterday, so I had to give it back to you.
So, I mean, I'm a real crazy optimist around crypto. I've been in it for a couple of years, probably about the same time as you, actually. Maybe, same bull market anyway.
Yeah.
And for me, I look, what are we talking about, right? So the global financial crisis happened. All this money was set on fire, and pretty much no bankers went to jail, right? There was no investigations. Nothing really happened. They just bailed them all out and printed cash. Meanwhile, in the crypto space, ultimately we're trying to do, if you look at Swift, which is how people still send money around the world, like if I want to send you cash, why does it take a day and a half? Because they're building on technology that was essentially built in the 1960s. And the banks just want to keep using that technology, right? They'll add some layers and some functionality. Someone's probably going to post a comment and be like, Swift was upgraded in 1984. Yeah, okay, great. In 1984, I was using an Atari, right? So when we talk about, when there's a vote on a company with shares, right? Yeah, okay. What's we're not happy in the CEO. Okay, well, so we get rid of him and we'll pay him $15 million and he'll get his golden parachute and he's gone. Because you can vote on the thing, but the thing that's actually offered to vote on, who's that decided by? Right? That's the shareholders aren't sitting there discussing what the 100 proposals are, coming up with the best 5, right? If you think about a decentralized autonomous organization, that's really what's supposed to happen, right? There'll be some sort of pre-DAO voting stuff where like, what do we want to talk about the next meeting, next quarter? Okay, here's 100 ideas. Let's see how many people get behind each one, right? These are the 5 we're going to present to the whole community. Then people vote on them and then they're executed, right? And it's executed by smart contract. So you don't have a bunch of corporate weasels, right? Reinterpreting the vote that the shareholders did and how to interpret that, and the CEO still gets a golden parachute. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is build organizations that are transparent and are on the blockchain, right? And that's the way we think about the project. Like when we talk about it internally, newer guys who are like, in 6 months, the company, and like, some of our senior guys will correct them. And I'll be like, no, like in 6 months, we want to be pretty much like a fairway along the decentralized route. Like our job will be, we will get paid based on us performing work for the DAO, right? And the DAO will have a treasury, and that's pretty much how this will work. And if we do the wrong job, like we'll get the flick and they'll get somebody else to come in. There's always like, you can always find somebody else. So that's a critical piece. And for me, so just let me finish this one thing, Karan. Like for me, I get all teary right now that we're in a bad market, right? Because some of the promise of blockchain is getting wrapped up in the normal market. And what do I mean? Like the stock markets are down, currency's down, there's inflation up. This realistically, if crypto was pure, we should actually be going up now, right? Because people will be like, I get paid my salary every month in dollars, and they're worth 7% less every month. So I should put my money into something else that's going up, right? Like, so that should be the move. But the reason that it's not, well, one of the reasons, I mean, I'm not a macroeconomist, but what I see is, okay, there's uncertainty, right? So Luna, the stable coin things with the algorithmic stable coins, that's obviously shook the market, right? The Celsius thing shook the market. Binance turned off withdrawals. Those things always shake confidence, and that's fair enough. I understand that. But most of the liquidity and most of the traders in the industry go through centralized exchanges, right? Like Binance, Coinbase. I mean, Coinbase, just laid off after hiring 4,000 people, they just turned around and fired 1,100 or something, right?
It was about 18%, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, like they scaled, and I saw that they were losing $400 million a quarter, right? I see. Go and read a business book. In every business book, what they say is like, to conquer your industry, you need scale. So all these guys are like, scale as fast as you can, more products, open an OTC desk, get into NFTs. Like, let's go. But like, that's not how you get good at something. The way you get good at something is you have one product, you make it exceptional, you keep working on it. And once you've got a really good product, then potentially you can look at other product lines, right? Right now, we just reflect the stock market. There's uncertainty in the normal markets, so crypto is down, right? Everyone's just like, doesn't have much money. A lot of people are selling. Realistically, I sort of hope the future is next time there's like a recession or whatever you want to call this, a depression, like I really want to see crypto go up. And the way that we do that is we try and make the industry more transparent. We chase out the scams, right? We get rid of the rug pulls. You look at projects that have been around longer term, they're building, right? They're very transparent. They meet the milestones on their roadmap. And they don't, in 2018, I'm sure everyone's got stories of like dudes raised $50 million. And next thing you know, they're flying first class to Consensus where they're sponsoring a cocktail event. Like, we're not doing any of that, right? We've got a very clear, we're raising less than 10 million from our private pre and this, right? That gives us 3 years of runtime. So we're very, very rigorous with the way that we look at money. We're looking at this long term, right? So building the DAO is where we want to be. And we really want that DAO. People who hold our token, they are part of our community. They are in the community and they will have an impact on the project. So, but sorry, Karan, I waffled for a bit.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, I'm going back to Rupert's actually first point, which was regulation is a good thing, I think. And that's probably just to back what you're saying, Liam, as well. Definitely, I think, that's what we need a little bit more certainty. And that certainty will hopefully lead to, if you like, a decluttering from the mainstream, if you like, economy and crypto, and where this is, the TradFi is going down. Hopefully, DeFi and all the rest of it will increase. Yeah, I mean, that's all I want to say. And also, it was about the DAOs. I read somewhere, I was going to ask you guys, if you remember, they said like in 5 years' time, I think a very big percentage of people are going to be working in decentralized autonomous organizations. So this is a trend that's here. It's good. It's definitely going to have resistance from obviously central authorities because they don't want that control and they don't want their bags to be taken away from them. But that's just the way it's going to go. No one can stop Bitcoin.
Could you imagine like, people are always talking about how truck drivers are the job that's going to disappear from automation. Imagine if it was CEOs. That would be amazing. We don't have a CEO. We're a DAO, right? All those like guys who are overpaid and like get to exit and move on, take share options. If we could get rid of all them, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, no. And it's one thing I love about WingRiders. You're a genuine project. Genuine from start to finish, as far as I'm concerned. And you understand blockchain technology. You're very, very technical. It was very impressive when you guys launched, pointing out the min swap flaw, essentially, the bug that was there. And it's great. And, understanding that blockchain really is a technological revolution is key. just akin to any other revolution. So you can even compare the revolution today that we're going through, which is blockchain, with the railroad industry, the motoring industry. We all drive cars. We often use trains. We're talking on a computer right now or a smartphone, and we're connecting over the internet. Blockchain is going to integrate itself into everybody's lives. And this is the journey we're on, and it's a really exciting one, and certainly exciting to be talking to a project such as yourselves who are so passionate about this. So we're going to wrap the interview up there, guys. This has been absolutely fantastic, and hopefully we can have you guys back on again.
Yeah, for
Definitely,
sure.
yeah,
That'd
no,
be
really
great.
enjoyed. I think we should have this forum, I think, and extend it to have a
For
monthly
sure.
forum with some other kind of, speakers and stuff, because it's very exciting. I mean, I can see you're very passionate. Liam, I know, is very passionate, and me too. Really discussing these really poignant things in these depressing times, I think, and really kind of trying to, inform everyone who's not as well informed that look, this is the future. Decentralization and what we're looking at is the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for coming on, guys. Hopefully we can do this again soon. I'm going to love and leave you guys. That was the WingRiders team. They'll be back on soon, I'm sure.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you very much.